In Norse mythology, beasts and monsters lurk in every corner, but few can rival the sheer terror and scale of Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent. His very name in Old Norse, Jormungandr, means great beast, and that's putting it lightly. This monstrous serpent was so immense that he could wrap his body around the entire world, biting his own tail. Jormungandr wasn't just any beast. He was the offspring of Loki, the infamous trickster god, and his giantess lover, Angerboda, along with his equally terrifying siblings, Fenrir, the great wolf, and Hel, ruler of the dead. Jormungandr was destined to bring cataclysm to the gods. When Odin, the All-Father, learned of the prophecy that Loki's children would spell doom for the gods, he panicked. Fenrir was kept in Asgard under watchful eyes. Hel was banished to rule the underworld, but Jormungandr? Odin hurled the serpent into the ocean, thinking the crushing waves would destroy him. Big mistake. Rather than perish, Jormungandr thrived. He devoured the sea's depths, growing and growing until he became so massive that he could encircle Midgard itself. From then on, he was feared as the Midgard serpent, a beast so enormous that his movements could cause tsunamis and his presence alone was a harbinger of destruction. If there was one god who hated Jormungandr more than anyone, it was Thor, the god of thunder. And oh, did these two have history. One of their earliest encounters happened in the land of the giants, where Thor and his fellow gods came across a towering castle. The gates were so massive that even their combined strength couldn't budge them. No problem. They simply squeezed through the bars instead. The king of the castle greeted them but demanded that they prove themselves before receiving his hospitality. Thor's challenge? Lift the king's pet cat. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. Despite his legendary strength, Thor could barely get one of the cat's paws off the ground. Humiliated but determined, he then attempted a drinking challenge, draining the king's mighty drinking horn. Thor gulped and gulped, but the level of liquid barely budged. Finally, in a fit of rage, he demanded to wrestle a worthy opponent. The king laughed and offered him an old woman as his challenger. An old woman? Thor fought with all his might, but he couldn't win. The next morning, as they were leaving, the king revealed the shocking truth. Thor had been tricked by powerful magic. The cat? It was actually Jormungandr in disguise. Thor had nearly ripped the Midgard serpent from the ocean floor. The drinking horn? It was connected to the entire sea, and Thor had almost drained the ocean. The old woman? She was old age itself, a force no one could defeat. Furious, Thor swung his hammer at the king, but before Mjolnir could strike, the castle and its ruler vanished into thin air. From that moment on, Thor swore revenge on both the king and Jormungandr, but he had no idea where to find them. Some whisper that the king was none other than Loki in disguise, setting the stage for his son's rise. Thor's next chance at revenge came when he joined a giant named Hymir on a fishing trip. But Thor wasn't there for some measly little fish. He wanted the biggest catch in existence. With raw power, he cast a mighty hook into the sea, using an ox's head as bait. Then, suddenly, a force like nothing else pulled the line taut. Jormungandr had taken the bait. The sea churned violently as the colossal serpent emerged, its venomous eyes gleaming, its jaws wide enough to swallow mountains. Thor, muscles bulging, held onto the line with a grip of steel and began dragging the beast upward. The moment was epic. Thor reached for Mjolnir, ready to strike Jormungandr down once and for all. But at the last second, Hymir panicked. Terrified by the size of the serpent, he cut the line, sending Jormungandr plunging back into the deep. Furious beyond belief, Thor turned on Hymir and punched him so hard he fell overboard and drowned. Jormungandr, shaken by the near-death encounter, retreated into the abyss, rarely seen again until Ragnarok. The prophecy was clear. When the end of the world, Ragnarok, arrived, Thor and Jormungandr would meet one last time. The battle would be nothing short of legendary. Amidst a burning world, Thor and the Midgard serpent would clash in a final earth-shattering duel. With each strike of Mjolnir, the ground would split. With every lash of Jormungandr's tail, mountains would crumble. In the end, Thor would emerge victorious, striking the final blow and slaying the great serpent. But there was a price. As Thor stood over Jormungandr's lifeless body, the serpent's venom coursed through his veins. With his final steps, 9 paces away from his fallen enemy, Thor would collapse. Even the strongest of gods could not survive Jormungandr's deadly poison. Both mighty warrior and monstrous beast would perish, sealing each other's fate. Jormungandr wasn't just a monster. He was a force of nature, a symbol of inevitable destruction. He was feared, hated, and respected by gods and mortals alike. His role in Norse mythology wasn't just as a villain, he was a catalyst for Ragnarok itself, a beast so enormous that his very presence shook the world, a serpent so powerful that even Thor himself could not escape his venom, a monster whose destiny was intertwined with the fate of the gods, and that's why Jormungandr remains one of the most legendary creatures in mythology. What do you think? Would you stand a chance against Jormungandr? Let me know in the comments.